Roll for Crit is made possible thanks to the support of viewers like you and our patrons on our Patreon page.
You can become a patron for just $1 a month at patreon.com/rollforcrit. Roll for Crit here at Gen Con Online 2020. We're not going to the real Gen Con this year in person, but if we did, maybe we would have taken a train. I don't know. It could happen.
I wish.
But we got the next best thing. We played Railroad Inc. Challenge from Horrible Guild. This is a roll and write game in which you are trying to connect routes on your personal sheet, and these might be railroads or they might be highways, and you are trying to draw them in the places that you need them to go, but that's determined by a set of dice that are rolled each round, and these dice have different types of paths in different positions, and those are going to be what you have to draw somewhere on your sheet that round. Now, they have to start out from one of the areas on the side of your sheet, and then they can go off of adjacent paths after that. So you can connect railroads to railroads, highways to highways. There are also stations, which are midpoints. There are certain spots that will give you special abilities if you're able to draw in them. You also get more points for drawing in the center area. And then there are going to be 3 goals that you're trying to reach. They might be to be the first person to have a certain number of railroad spots, or to have a certain number of squares filled in the middle. And if you get to do that earlier, you will get more points for it. There's a lot of different ways to get points in this game. We've played our fair share of roll and writes, but we have not played the original Railroad Inc. So this one does add some new stuff to it, and there's also some expansion stuff that we didn't try either. So Railroad Inc. Challenge, how do we think it compares to other roll and writes?
Well, it was nice to not roll and pick one die. You get to use all the dice because everyone's using them. It's very interesting because you're drawing a lot of different paths. There's a lot of options right off the bat. It's not usually just like, oh, I'll just put this here. You really need to decide like, oh, I need to connect this with this. How do I make sure that I get the route I have? And there are some special spots you can use. Not spots, track patterns. They're at the top of your board, but you can only use a few of them. And so you really need to decide, do I really need this? I need this highway to connect to this railroad through a station. I got to use one of those special spots. So you still have those lifelines, I guess would be the best analogy there to have, which is very helpful because sometimes those dice, they can be cruel.
Yeah, you're right about the thing of choices. You do have always 4 new patterns that you're going to be putting into squares. So, and especially like later in the game lasts 7 rounds, but like I'd say round 3 and onward, you have a lot of possibilities of where you can put those. And you're trying to think into the future as to, well, what might come out next? What am I in need of? Which area do I really want to connect to? And sometimes the paths will be, they curve not quite in the way that you want them to. So you need to snake your way around to get to the place you're trying to get to. And that's when, those special ones you can use can really come in handy because maybe it'll just be a 4-way intersection that's very versatile and very convenient. And I found that I was not good at this game.
Yes, I learned I should not be a city planner.
We played with the designers, so I'd say they had an unfair advantage, but they certainly beat us handily. But it's something that I think over time you come back to, like many games, and you understand kind of what you're going for. Depending on what the goal cards that are out, it's sort of akin to the city plan cards in Welcome to. Those will change up your strategy. You want to try to get those early for more points, but that might be inconvenient. It might interrupt your plans to get points in other ways. And there are quite a few ways, again, to earn points in this game. You also can lose points if you leave sections unfinished. So if they go off into nothing, or if they are going to collide with something, you will be punished for that. So you have to try to be efficient. And it takes a lot of careful planning, which is maybe not my strong suit.
Yeah, my city had a lot of... it's not technically a dead end because you keep driving. It's just you're going to drive into a field or something. If you're lucky.
Yeah, what's so bad about that? So it's an interesting one. We played this digitally using a digital dice roller that I think is public. I think anyone can try this out for themselves, kind of the basic mode. You just have to find the sheet. We'll put links into this was on Kickstarter earlier this year, so you should be able to find more resources there. But if you like roll and writes in general, I think this one is pretty interesting. It gives you a lot of choices, forces you to, again, efficiently puzzle out the order you're going to do things in a limited amount of rounds. And I'm curious to see what the different expansions add to it as well.
You can let us know in those comments down below what your thoughts on Challenge, if you got the chance to play digitally or if you backed it. And if you played the previous one of just Railroad Inc., what you're hoping to see and how it plays in this new version. Thanks for watching, and this has been Roll for Crit at Gen Con 2020. Thanks to all our members of our Patreon page for making this show possible. You can sign up for exclusive benefits or help us by liking and subscribing.
You can also take a quick survey to help us improve Roll for Crit, and in exchange, you'll receive access to a Patreon exclusive podcast episode. Stay up to date on all our Gen Con online coverage, including live gameplay at rollforcrit.com.